Good evening. First up, in the latest Bridget Mcronone is not a man development. Many plan to testify about the smell of her muff, with her lawyer claiming she targeted younger males because they wouldn't have known the smells were unusual. With our legal team looking for me to point out that we don't actually have any intelligence about the existence of a muff or not having a muff, or whether or not it might have had smells. Next, liberal women compete for who can make the most autistic baby, trying to make a child so autistic that in the future it might be able to beat Trump in an election. Our experts envision what this baby might sound like.
What time would be better to tell you about my greatness than this funeral that you're currently attending of a guy who loved what I did because it was the greatest?
While this anchor has tried a new diet of Dr. Oz's Luca Vorin to cure his autism. Wow, being around these people isn't that bad. I don't even feel the need to change the topic to the one thing I've researched so that I can argue with these people and prove that I'm smart. Weird. I don't even feel the need to have another drink. Next, in international news, why whites are fighting Indians over who gets to eat this tree. At the UN, a stopped escalator designed to fluster Trump leads to a perfect ice blue steel pose from Melania that had many in the UN so moved they are now backing Trump on whatever he wants. Latest from the Coldplay affair incident is that they were actually just friends, and he was just touching her tits because it helped them make HR decisions about who to hire and fire. Can we get an HR director? Next, how miniature toilet plungers can save your choking kid. Rally wig for the last one. How much money does the government need to never have to pretend like it's shutting down again? Does anyone want to report on this still? They're just gonna open it and spend the money. I'm bored. And now back to your regularly scheduled broadcast.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Run Your Mouth podcast. It is a pleasure to be with you guys today. And in order to celebrate the newfound freedom that we have on YouTube, I have this chart behind me, which, full transparency, I have no idea what it is. But, you know, we'll test the algorithm a little bit. We'll get a little bit testy, you know, like in Jurassic Park when they got to test the fence every once in a while. We'll just throw up a chart that's meaningless, could be scientific, could be nonsense. Maybe some of you people can decipher it. But, you know, let's celebrate the newfound freedom of YouTube as Trump goes after people for, now enacting his agenda. People are realizing that they got to come clean on whatever the hell Biden was doing. And why not enjoy some of our newfound freedoms and test the fence a little bit, just a little bit. Anyways, everybody, rain or shine tomorrow, I'm going to be out in St. James, Long Island. We've got a beautiful garage or backyard. We'll see where porching takes us. Other than that, Omaha, Nebraska this Friday, Kansas City this Sunday, and then I got Dallas with Dave, and then another run with Brian McWilliams from Lions of Liberty doing Hawthorne, Aguanga, and Santa Monica. And people, I am looking for more porches. All right, I thought I was going to be done in December. I'm not done in December. Because you know what? I really want to polish what I'm working on and put it out. And then Sam Tripoli offered me a gig at the dojo on New Year's. And then I realized, I can't take off December because I got to be sharp if I'm going to be hanging out with Sam Tripoli and doing his show. So I'd like to add a New York City. I'm eyeballing like a New Haven or a Hartford, Connecticut. Charleston people, you still haven't hit me up. I know someone's got a porch in Charleston. Quit being stingy with your porches, Charleston people. I know that there's an audience in Charleston. I'd like to add something in northern Florida before I do Jacksonville on that Thursday night. Maybe you're in Orlando, a Gainestown, a Tallahassee. There's got to be something in northern Florida. I know you guys people have porches. I'd like to do Sacramento. I looked on the back end. My biggest audience is out in Sacramento, and I've never played out there. And then Chicago, looking for a venue. because that's going to be wintertime. And then I do have a venue in Denver. Will be confirmed shortly. But anyways, welcome to the late night broadcast brought to you by YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo. Only place in the entire world where you can get an entire kilo of kratom for just $60. And I was going to wait for 10 p.m., but then I was just standing around getting too bored, started to get tired. I don't have more coffee here. So listen, we're conflicting with the last 15 minutes of Part of the Problem, which apparently goes live now at 9 and not 8 p.m. But, you know, you guys can watch this at your own leisure. You don't all have to hang out live, and that's what it is. Someone's telling me that they have a porch in Columbia, South Carolina, but it's super shitty. We just need a back lawn. I don't know where Columbia, South Carolina is. All right, before we get into the news, and we do have quite a bit to cover, and it's a late evening hour, so, you know, we got to get to it. But I do have a call. I got to pull out that Zyn. I do have a couple of travel gripes that I got to get into. And first one off the bat, this seems like a reasonable policy, and I blame the TSA for this. But on flights, no shoes, no flying. Simple rule. No shoes, no flying. I sat in coach the other day, and I watched some lady take off her shoes and scratch her athlete's foot next to me. And it wasn't even a quick scratch. It was an indulgent scratch. It was the kind of scratch I wouldn't even do at home, because who wants to get their athlete's foot on their hand or the fumes up in the air for you to breathe in through your nose? It was the most disgusting thing I've ever witnessed in public ever, was some old lady, not even that old, just taking off her feet and just indulgently scratching it in a public setting. Just no shoes, no plane ride. And I almost think that we need more Karens in the wild and better accessibility for how to get them to, because I'm not complaining to other people, all right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to order another drink. I'm going to drink my beverage to calm my rage, and then I'm going to pray to the heavenly Lord that you die. That's the way that I'm going to handle that situation. But there are other people out there that don't mind confrontation, and we need like one of those life lock buttons, like if I've fallen, not getting up, where you can just like be like, someone's doing something so reprehensible. I need somebody here who's okay with confrontation, that is going to cut off these women's foot, hang them from the roof of the plane, like almost like they used to have the dice in the front of cars, just hanging feet from the front of the plane. People start walking in, they wonder what African country they ended up in, that there's just severed feet at the front of the plane, and they're like, yeah, some lady was scratching her athlete's foot in coach. Keep your shoes on the plane. I mean, that's a simple rule. Keep your shoes on the plane. They should have the world's biggest sign when you get to the airport of no shoes, no flying. I don't even really mind if you want to take off your shirt in coach. You want to put your disgusting back on a disgusting seat, and the next guy can wear his shirt so he doesn't have to be in your back sweat. But keep your shoes on. I mean, isn't that just simple? That one should be simple. All right. They're doing a new thing at airports, and I warn you now, because they just know how to get to you. They know what your breaking point is, and they know how to push you past it. And not only do you have to go through the whole security rigmarole, not only does your old ID that was issued by the government no longer a real ID, that you now need to travel with your passport or have a real ID, now you get to keep your shoes on, but you don't know what does or doesn't have to come out of the bag. There's a whole process. You gotta check in. You gotta wait on that line. You gotta get to the security. Sometimes you gotta get your balls fondled. It's fun if it's not from a gay guy. If it's not a gay guy, then it's a good time. If it's a gay guy, then you feel real weird about yourself, and then you gotta drink more and say more prayers to the Lord about people dying. Which is because anyways, I'm not gonna explain that one. We'll just continue moving forward. But, reminding people that it's jokes, that we're not bigots over here. We love everybody except for the people that scratch their athlete's foots on plane or grundle you on behalf of the federal government and enjoy it. You get to do one of the two things. You can caress my nuts in the airport, but you're not allowed to enjoy it. I feel like that's a simple enough. And if you're a gay person, but you don't particularly enjoy caressing my nuts, or you're disgusted by me, because you like more of I don't know what style of dude you're into. As long as you are not into what I am as a dude, and you don't enjoy caressing my nuts while you're being paid at work, I don't think you can get paid for your job and forcibly fondle people and enjoy it. Okay? All right. We clarified it. I'm glad I was able to issue that clarification. But now, after you go through all of that process, they're doing secondary security screenings at the gate where they recheck your ID, and sometimes they pull you out of that line and recheck your bag. And you're just like, guys, it's enough. We already went through this. This was already too much security. This was already too intrusive. We don't have to do a second run of this. All right. And then one last travel gripe, because they're always screwing you all the time. You know, I was so impressed with myself. I fly so much. I'm hitting super status on Delta. All right. I'm already platinum medallion. I'm inching towards diamond medallion. I might hit diamond medallion status. And the biggest perk of hitting these statuses, it used to be the lounge, but now they're overcrowded. They're filled with these animals that will scratch their athletes' foots on planes, and they capture access unless you want to purchase additional assets. So that's one perk. Down the drain. Next perk is I get free bags, which makes a big difference for porching. Means I can bring all the gear and I don't have to pay for the bags. That saves me quite a bit of money. That perk still exists, and I appreciate that perk. Which, by the way, all right, you know what? We're going to ADD this thought so I don't forget this thought. But I got an airport hack for everybody here because I travel all the time, and so you guys can get the good tips on flying. If there's ever a check-in area outside of the airport, before you walk into the airport, always do the curbside check-in. Firstly, you don't have to tip the people. You tip them $2 a bag. It makes their day. And I promise you, I have super status with Delta that I get to go to the Delta premium line or whatever. And the people that are outside means you're carrying your bags for less time. They're happy to have gotten your $2. And it is so much more efficient than any of the desks in there. And then you just have to like kind of wonder, what is the breakdown here that these people outside are happy to receive $2 a passenger per bag, which, by the way, sometimes for me that could be $5 to $10 type deal. And you got to realize they process me in all of 2 minutes. So they might be making some decent cash there. And then I was just thinking about, like, you know, the way the corporations come in and they go, you know what, we can manage these people. And then they cut down their wages to the point where they don't actually want to do their jobs, and that everything runs inefficiently and you can't get any service in any capacity whatsoever. And I think would be better for the corporate. It's like, listen, tipping on they keep pushing up the price of coffee. Those people do nothing. They obnoxiously flip the thing around on you. If you're spending more than $10, then it converts to, like, those boards screw you, and the coffee places have gotten out of hand. But I feel like there's other industries in which if we were tipping the people, it would be better for the corporation, because then their employees are actually being paid well, and they're incentivized, and they're actually happy to work, and they're processing everybody. Like, there's something about, like, the corporation stepping in and going, we're going to manage this service, and part of the management is that they just cut down people's wages to the point that they don't want to do the jobs, and then you're stuck there just dealing with, like, the corporation that's supposed to manage the people and then just doesn't. I don't have a perfect fix here, but I just noticed that the efficiency of being able to check in your bags right outside, hand the guy $2, and you're like, this is the best deal I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like, what other things can I just be interacting directly with the service person, handing them a couple dollars, and then just actually getting service? And then what can we do to change everything to, like, more direct to the person that can actually make my life easier? All right, but now back to what I was trying to talk about before with Delta screwing us, because they are. You know, every corporation, they're pinching every penny as the inflation comes. They already screw me on discriminatory pricing in terms of seeing how much I fly and charging me more. But one of the big perks was I used to be able to select exit rows, no extra cost. Now they put those into the premium select seats, and so that's out the window. And it's kind of fun just watching them walk back the little perks that they gave you. All right, that's enough ranting about random horse shit. Let's take some comments, and then we can get into the news. Wait, actually, before I do that, as I've said, I do have a sponsorship option on the live shows, and we had some recent incredible sponsors. I'm actually going to break this up because the next one fits with the next topic, but these guys got a podcast. They sponsored the show out in Anderson, South Carolina. Go check out the Legacy Right podcast. They gave me a cool book. Basically, I've read this philosopher Geertship quite a bit. Interesting stuff. They gave me this book on the Enneagram. I never paid attention to that specific lane of the guy's stuff. Cool book that they gave me. And then we're going to get into the walk back from YouTube years later on COVID stuff that they're now restoring channels. Maybe they'll take the strike off the Run Your Mouth channel. I think there was still a lingering strike there. But we've had this on the show a couple times. It's the Gavel Project. And they got an interesting lawsuit in the work in that they had a public school kid that was actually, if I remember the details correctly, was forcibly, oh, I forgot to show both of these because I'm dumb, that was forcibly removed from a class, and they are actually suing the school and might actually win that lawsuit out in California. So if you want to learn more about that, you want to get on suing the government, that pretend to, oh, it wasn't me, I never forced anybody. Well, this one, they had a clear incident of force, and they might actually win the case. You guys can go check that out at the Gavel Project. And then the other podcast was The Legacy Right. All right, let's take some comments. G-Nice. Rob wears Crocs without socks at the airport. That is fake news. I do not wear Crocs. I don't know who told you that. And listen, there's a lot of things that you could say about my fashion choices. And there's a lot of shit that you could give me for not dressing like an adult or dressing nice enough. But Crocs are not part of my airport outfit. And I don't appreciate you spreading that kind of misinformation about me. I'm a honorable passenger of planes. I keep to myself, and I drink so that I don't have rage towards other people. And I wear shoes with socks, and I keep them on for the duration of flights. Never even took them. Well, actually, I have taken them off in airports because they force you to. Algorithm. This is like an open mic bit on YouTube. What the hell are you other 12 people doing here if you aren't talking shit? I guess, yeah, you know, algorithm. You can talk all the shit that you want. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with this YouTube walkback. This was from Yahoo News. Google amidst censorship pressure from Biden admin, pledges to reinstate YouTube accounts. And this was from the New York Post. It is unacceptable and wrong when any government, including the Biden administration, attempts to dictate how the company Alphabet moderates content, Donovan wrote. And the company has consistently fought against these efforts on the First Amendment grounds. There you go. And they got a picture of him doing the Hitler. Everyone's got to do the Hitler. But there you go. It wasn't us. We had no interest in censoring people. We even fought the government on censoring, and we're as upset as you guys. I mean, they didn't share that information at the time that everyone was being censored. They didn't get out there and say, hey, we're one of the largest corporations in the world, and we believe that people should be able to freely interact with the internet, and we actually make more money because it's more engaging if there's honest information and everyone can put up their content and more people want to watch the content. They didn't make any of these complaints then. Hey, you're getting in the way of our business and you're getting in the way of freedom. But that's always the way it works. It's always years after it's relevant. And so this was their letter to Jim Jordan, I believe. Senior Biden administration officials include White House officials conducted repeated and sustained outreach to Alphabet and pressed the company regarding certain user-generated content related to COVID-19 pandemic that did not violate its policies. Now, off the bat, I got quite a few strikes for honest information relative to COVID that YouTube told me was in violation of its policies. They would never tell you specifically what you said. They wouldn't answer emails. They're always very mafioso about, we think what you did might have generated, but if you want to file a complaint, after careful review and consideration, we do establish that you did. All right, well, if you gave it a careful review and consideration, can you tell me specifically what the issue was? The last time I got a strike, it actually was not for the COVID-19 vaccine. Hopefully I don't get another one now. Hopefully I don't push it, but it's because I had a doctor defending the current regime. I'm sorry, I had a doctor on who was defending the current vaccines that are given to kids. And just because I was asking him questions about it, that was considered questioning official narrative, and that was taken down. And I was given a strike for it. But all right, so firstly, this is already that they're just telling you that there were some things that were allowed by their policies, and I can tell you how strict their policies were during COVID. So this is already like a 25% fault admission where there's still like, because 70, like, I'm sure that government influenced what the actual YouTube policies were, and the YouTube policies were very dishonest and geared towards censorship during COVID. So even this, they're just saying, oh, yeah, it was only a problem and that they reached out to us on things that weren't against our policies that they asked to be taken down. But I'd like name names, who are the people that were reaching out to you, and admit the fact that your actual policies of what needed to be taken down was also influenced by government as well. That was not just a Google decision. I mean, at a minimum, even the fact that the government put out wrong information about it, and you had to keep everyone consistent with the wrong information, that's influenced by government. And I'm sure they pressured you to adhere to what was that information. So I'm just saying, even this, firstly, name names, do the honorable thing. Otherwise, you don't actually care about the public interest or cleaning this up. And then two, this is like such a partial admission to the problem of just the things that I'm sure that the majority of censorship that took place on YouTube during COVID was for things that they said were outside of their guidelines and policies. And don't tell me for 1 second that that wasn't influenced by the government, or there wasn't some level of coercion that you felt like you needed to adhere to it. Let's just continue. While the company continued to develop and enforce its policies independently, Biden administration officials continued to press the company to remove non-violated user-generated content. And the things that were non-violative must have been so batshit that I'd even be like, maybe that should be taken down, because every time they took down my stuff, it was because they said it didn't adhere to their policies. So I can tell you that their policies were highly set up to censor people. All right, here was another random thing as I read through this document that I would like to highlight. The company terminated channels for repeatedly violating its COVID community guidelines on election integrity content through 2023 and COVID-19 content through 2024. In other words, when it was relevant. I tell you guys, the truth always comes out after it's no longer relevant. It's like the Biden storyline. The Hunter Biden laptop storyline. They'll tell you the truth once it can no longer influence an election, and they go, oh, yeah, we're honest. I mean, we told you. It's just not when the information was relevant. It doesn't help us if 3 years later, where's the class action lawsuits? Where are the Jews on this? Can I get a class action lawsuit about being shadow banned, about having your channel have strikes on it, lost income from ticket sales, other revenue, non-monetization? I mean, let's get a class action lawsuit going here. And if you want to direct it, actually, most of the content was because of guidelines. It wasn't. All right. Anyways, I'm meandering here and trying to say, you guys turning around now because it's a new administration and they're delving into what you did and then going, oh, yeah. Well, back then we censored it, but we're not censoring it now. Yeah. Well, then you censored it when it mattered. It doesn't matter anymore. I mean, does it matter anymore if anyone's questioning the election integrity from the last election? Of course not. Today, YouTube's community guidelines allow for a wider range of content regarding COVID-19 because it's no longer relevant and because the truth is already out. Good for you. You want a badge of honor for protecting free speech and letting people actually share information on your platform, or for getting it right? And election integrity, reflecting the company's commitment to free expression. There you go. 2 years later, when the information is no longer relevant, they'll allow you to have it here as an expression of their commitment to free expression, meaning that the next time that there's some relevant information that they don't want you to know about because it's not in line with the regime narrative or their own narrative, they'll still strip it down. They don't care about free expression. YouTube will provide an opportunity for all creators to rejoin the platform if the company terminated their channels for repeated violations of COVID-19 and election integrity policies that are no longer in effect. How nice of you guys. Will you swear that in the future you're not going to make obscure guidelines that protect current regimes? And, well, I guess that was the end of that topic. And so now we get to look at this handsome picture and look at how magnificent that guy's junk looks. And it's because he's wearing sheath.com. And you could look this good in your underwear as well. You might have to actually go to the gym, shed some pounds. But, you could wear a shirt and just show off your junk and show people how good you look in your sheaths. And if you use promo code RYM, you're going to get 20% off the greatest underwear that's graced the balls of man. And let me tell you, I don't even think it's that I've put on so much weight from donuts. I think it's because I'm squatting. My thighs are getting big and juicy, and I can't walk around with sheets anymore. Otherwise, it's like I'm starting a fire between my legs. So let me tell you, if you got big, beefy thighs, whether because you're fat or because you've been doing too many squats in your living room, what you need to do is go to sheath.com and use promo code RYM, and you get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. Now, just back to that YouTube topic for 1 second. If there's ever been a topic that I would actually, instead of threatening Jimmy Kimmel and instead of threatening, hey, if you don't give me good news coverage, If the Trump administration actually wants to do something that benefits the country and benefits free speech, go after companies for crimes that they committed and censoring conservatives or other voices during the Biden administration, and make it that they will be punished so harshly when administrations change that you put risk on their plate if they just adhere to the current regime and the censorship interest of the current regime. Make it that they have to go back to Biden and go, listen, we understand that you're in office now, but in 3 years from now, when everyone realized that they were lied to, we will be punished harshly by the next administration. And so we actually can't afford to censor people because the next administration is going to uncover these crimes and they're going to be punitive towards us. If you actually want to clean things up and let true information rise to the top, punish these people for what they did. And hopefully Jim Jordan continues to go after them. And let's name some names in the Biden administration. Let's see what those threats actually look like. And let's figure out how to prosecute them. All right. Algorithm is really flooding the chat with his gay comments, which he's allowed to do. I'm all for free speech. If you want to continuously talk about how much you would like to have me over to your house just so you can sleep with me and for us to dock penises and showcase our sheaths and slowly undress in front of each other, I'm not going to be the person to censor you for it. I might not highlight it. I might not read every comment as you flood it, but I acknowledge that you're there, and I'm not going to tell you that you can't do it because that would be hypocritical. Uncircumcised circus. There was a huge purge back in 2015, 2016. It goes beyond Biden. Hey, man, go after everyone for it. Algorithm also admitting that his dick is tiny. It would just have an empty piece of penis-shaped fabric. Well, you know, maybe stuff it. Marcus letting us know that docking is so 2015. You know, I agree with that analysis. All right, now let's get into Donald Trump, who, you know, he promised he was going to end the war on day one. Never would have happened if he was in office. And now it appears that, listen, you know, Donald Trump might just be between Diet Cokes. And the next time he has a Diet Coke that hits him back and it really hits that Diet Coke spot for him, he's going to turn back around and go, you know what? Well, we should do that peace thing. But at the moment, you know, I guess the way wars happen is people butt heads. And Putin's currently butting heads with Trump because he won't just turn around and stop and go, oh, yeah, you know what? Trump really is so wonderful that I would just like to stop this war on his behalf. And so, you know, Trump's promise of I can end it in day one because I got a good relationship with Putin, that doesn't seem to be coming true. And so now Trump's getting annoyed about it. And now it looks like he wants to fight Putin to try and force him to end the war. And so now what Donald Trump's doing to try and, I guess, seek leverage, as opposed to just turning around and saying, hey, we're not funding this thing anymore. We're washing our hands of this mess that was Joe Biden's, and we want nothing to do with it. Europe, if you want to go start World War III with Russia and put your own funds into this, you can, but we're out. He's not going that way. Instead, what he wants to do is he wants to go after China and India, get them to stop buying oil or natural gas from Russia. He's also going after the countries in Europe who have been buying natural gas, which I think that's a fair point. I think as far as the countries in Europe go, that I mean, you can also go back in time and question what the system was where Ukraine itself for the last 3 years, not currently, were also profiting off of the transportation of natural gas into Europe. They needed to fight a war, but they could somehow get along on profits for, you know, the first 3 years of this war, 2 years of this war. Like I said, I'm kind of dumb. I don't remember how long the war was going, but that they did put an end to that. They did stop that. But here's the latest from Donald Trump. This is from Truth Statement. Gasoline through the long lines are being formed and of all the other things that are taking place in their war economy, where most of their money is being spent on fighting Ukraine, which has great spirit and only getting better. Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that. So as opposed to being pragmatic and saying, hey, Ukraine lost, Zelensky, it's over. Your men are just dying for no reason. We're not spending our money here anymore. I'm not buying some story that if we back you, I'm going to make all sorts of money off of mineral deals when I'm no longer in office. We're never going to see any money from it. There's no way to pitch me as a win to the American people. People are dying for no reason. And if anything, China, India, and Russia are all forging better and bigger partnerships at our expense. we got to get out of this mess. And now, you know, I guess in 4D chess, between Diet Cokes, he's seeking new leverage. He's trying to go back to Putin and go, I'm going to fight this thing to the end unless you finally, I guess, give up some of the territories. I mean, Zelensky still hasn't, as far as I remember, go, all right, we'll call it a war and you can just keep the territories. But here's Donald Trump, you know, as a peacemaker, just looking for peace, just looking to end the war, now pitching that Ukraine can actually win it. Remember that propaganda from 2 years ago that we mostly gave up on of, hey, we just got to support Ukraine because they can win the war? And if anyone's telling you otherwise, they're lying to you because Ukraine can win this and this would be a great victory against Russia. Well, apparently we're reverting back to that there's still an opportunity for Ukraine to win the war, and that's why we got to stay in this thing. And then in terms of, I guess, channeling more of an outlook for escalation versus just wiping our hands of this and forcing, you know, them to end it because they can't afford to continue it. Here is Donald Trump sitting down with Zelensky. You know, a couple months ago, they were yelling at each other in the Oval Office. Zelensky wouldn't fold. And then I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but Donald Trump seems to be completely changing gears to being like, Zelensky, I'll support your coke habit. I'll support your war. Whatever you need, I'm on board. Roll the tape, producer man. You guys can tell me if I have sound. Oh, man, you guys are telling me no sound. I even did a whole test run before the show, make sure that it was coming out of the proper places. All right, wait. I think I know exactly how to fix this, and I don't think it's going to be too difficult. But let's try this first. Very annoying. I don't, let's try this first. Tell me if we have sound. Be quick on the trigger to let me know. And if not, I think I know the change I have to make. Oh, you guys are telling me better and it's fixed? I didn't even change anything. That's annoying. All right, I guess we had sound the whole time, and I didn't need to make that one adjustment, but let's just start this again from the beginning.
Shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I did.
Would you back them up? Would the United States help them out in some way?
Depends on the circumstance, but, you know, we're very strong toward NATO. NATO has stepped up. You know, when they went from 2% to 5%, that was great unity. Trillions of dollars is being pumped in, and they're paying us for the weapons that we send. But
he started off basically saying that he supports NATO shooting down drones, I think, over Poland. But it just kind of speaks to the fact that the longer this war goes, the more risk there is for escalation. I don't think any of us should be tolerating this risk of escalation. And I don't think Donald Trump's strategy thus far of continuing to back Ukraine is ending the war, and everything is just kind of flirting with escalations. And now here you have Donald Trump threatening, not threatening, but just basically saying that India and China have to stop buying oil or natural gas from Russia, which I don't know what leverage we have to facilitate that. I guess maybe we're going to, increase tariffs, which I don't think is going to get them to stop. And is just basically going to further escalate tensions amongst all of these countries. And maybe all of you guys out there, you hate any trade with China. You think we're better off isolating them and figure out how to have an economy entirely separate from them. Doesn't strike me as a win, but enough commentary. Let's roll the clip.
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products.
The other side of this is trade. and the mutual benefits of doing it and the mutual destruction of not doing it is what kind of facilitates peace. And you guys can go back down the Run Your Mouth archive, but I had said that this war was essentially lost in week 1 when India decided that they were going to continue to buy Russian gas. And so, you know, we didn't do the thing where we were able to bully everyone into backing our efforts so that Russia had to cave. And now it's years later, and we're having the exact same conversation of Ukraine can win this. And what we need is for India and China to step up and back us. And I don't know what levers we have to facilitate that or what peaceful means we have that allow all these countries to get along. But it's still just the pipe dream of America is so powerful, we're just going to threaten these people of, hey, this is the way that we have to do it. Russia has to just stop, and all of you guys have to go with our agenda here. As we become stronger and you guys become weaker, and you guys all just have to go along with that, or else.
Which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one? In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully...
Well, that might also just speak to that maybe all of Europe doesn't really want this war, and if they can get along for oil and energy, maybe they don't actually all want to fight each other forever.
Prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would...
All right, and then one more. That's the end on the Ukraine-Russia stuff, but I think it speaks to that the current flavor from Donald Trump is no real pathway towards peace, no real... it just, if anything, talk of escalation and hoping that Putin's just magically going to back down. And everything seems to be circling back to the first month of this war with Biden, which is these other countries have to stop buying natural gas from them. And remember, Ukraine can win this. All right. And then this is a different clip, which is in regards to Gaza and Israel. And, you know, Trump's here. He's back in Israel through and through. And then you've got these European nations who are now starting to talk about how they would like to see a Palestinian state. I've heard quite a bit of commentary from other people about how that's meaningless. What they need to do is just to start sanctioning Israel and stop sending arms to Israel, and claiming that they want to see a Palestinian state is just basically an empty gesture. But, you know, like I said from last week, the world is lopsided in terms of who you hear speaking now and making sense. And who on earth would ever think that you'd hear Macron say something and go, hey, I think that makes more sense than what Trump has to say. And so, you know, they're asking about what's going on, and let's hear what Macron has to say, because I actually think it makes sense.
Right. Nobody forgets the 7th of October. I went there a few days after, taking families in my hands, and we experienced all together these horrific attacks. And by the way, we lost a lot of French people in these terrorist attacks. But after almost 2 years of war, what is the result? Once again, they killed the top leaders of Hamas. It works. This is a great achievement. But at the same time, you have as many Hamas fighters as you had the first day. So it doesn't work to dismantle the Hamas. This is not the right way to proceed. So we need a full-fledged process, and we worked very hard on the day after, and I totally share this sequencing. The release of all hostages, the ceasefire, the resume of humanitarian aid, the day after in Gaza to stabilize the land, and we need a political perspective, and this is why we took this decision on recognition.
Well, I have to say that I'm on the side of Israel. I've been on the side of Israel really my whole life. And we are going to get a solution, and it's going to be a solution, hopefully, that's good for everybody.
I'm Trump. I have magic sauce. I know you haven't seen magic yet, but just trust me. We're going to back them, and it's going to work out perfect. Everyone's going to be happy. Like no one's ever seen the greatest. Nobody's ever seen it because they'll never see it because you'll never do it, but no one's seen it yet. But I got that magic sauce, and it's all going to work out. It's going to be the most wonderful. Everyone's going to thank me. Even the Gazans will be happy.
But there's your war update. We're back to square one in Russia, trying to pressure India and China not to buy the natural gas and pretending that Ukraine can win the war and maybe even take territory from Russia. And then you got a little bit of a pragmatic outlook from the French leader, Mcronone, saying we've been fighting this war for a long time, and you got just as many people in Hamas as at the start of it. Maybe we got to try something different. And Trump just going, nope, we're back in Israel, and don't worry. I know I haven't shown you any magic sauce yet, but I still have it. I still got some magic sauce up my sleeve. All right, before we get into our last topics, we got one more sponsor for today's show, which is polygraph.net. Listen, if you got if you're doing online marketing and you guys haven't hit these people up, you're wasting money. Listen, I'm a different style Jew. I just like saving money. I like a nice coupon here and there. I love a promo code. And if you're out there and you're running internet campaigns, you're paying for leads for no reason. You're paying for clicks for no reason. People are just stealing from you. They got bots. They're clicking on the stuff. You're paying for clicks, and it's just a bot. And so if you want to avoid that, if you want to avoid sitting at your office and going, my God, look how many people clicked my ad. I'm killing it. I should pay even more money with the advertising company that designed that ad. Look at all these clicks it's getting. And then finding out it's driving zero business whatsoever because it's mostly just bots. Don't be a sucker. You go to polygraph.net. They'll give you a free run through. They'll show you how much traffic is bots, and they'll help you improve your online marketing and save you a whole bundle of money because they're going to clean out all the clicks that are bots that you're wasting your cash on. Don't waste your cash. All right. Now we've got Donald Trump going after former FBI Director James Comey. Apparently, it's coming down to the statute of limitations, and so they will be indicting Comey. The charge is lying to Congress, and I looked into this a little bit, and listen, this is the kind of, I wouldn't even call this a gray area. The deep state went after Donald Trump and the whole Russiagate nonsense, and this is cleaning up the deep state to prove crimes of these individuals and concocting a story that was completely fabricated and not true. And I think that this is good going after your political enemies because in this case, it's the deep state for crimes that they committed in terms of that they undermined an elected official and they tried to pretend that he was a Russian asset. And so for 2 whole years, our lives had to be wasted by hearing about this on the news. And not just that, he wasn't able to move forward with his agenda because they bogged him down in this nonsense that was totally fabricated of him being a Russian asset. So unlike going after Kimmel or stripping people for free speech, you want to go after people for actual crimes and you want to prove crimes that were committed, that I think that's a win, and I think that's fair game. I don't think that's just going after your political enemies. If you can prove that they actually did a crime, and in this case, I think we all know that maybe it wasn't specifically Comey. There's certainly some evidence there, but, the deep state did go after Donald Trump and concoct a completely fabricated story that really undermined his first presidency, at least for 2 years. And so in this case, I think what they have him for is lying in front of Congress about facilitating leaks to the media in terms of moving the Russiagate storyline forward. And they might even have some direct evidence on that. And so, pushing forward on indicting the guy so he doesn't get by scot-free. All right. And now we move on to Kamala Harris. And, she's an interesting person because she's running a book tour now where she wrote an interesting book and she finally shared some dirty deeds on some people. And now she's going back out and she's talking and reminding people that you shouldn't read her book. I mean, it doesn't matter. She's being paid off by the deep state or wherever else. So we're going to buy the copies, go burn it, and pay her off for her service. But here you've got Kamala Harris, and, she's just reminding you that if you were somewhat interested in the book and whoever sat down and wrote it for her so that it might be something other than laughter and talk of school buses, here she is on a media tour just reminding you that she has absolutely nothing interesting to say and that she's a non-intelligent person and that you probably don't want to read her book. And here's a moment that I want to highlight from The View. I'll play it, and then I'll give my commentary. Let's go. Pickled Rick. Yes, I'm live.
One thing. What was the primary reason, do you think, that you lost?
There are many factors, I think, that played into the outcome of that election. But I think probably one of the biggest in my mind is we just didn't have enough time.
You didn't have enough time.
We didn't have enough time.
I love that, because if there had been more time for the American people to witness how stupid you are, you would have lost by more. And you would have spent more money doing it. The one asset that your campaign had was that you nearly could pull the Biden of just staying in a basement, that you were able to pay celebrities and pack in stadiums, that you were able to spend $2 billion on favorable coverage. And all the way up until the debate, you didn't really have to do any hard interviews, and you could just do fluff pieces and be in the romantic period of, oh, it's the endorsement of a lady who's also of color, and it's the nice person because Donald Trump's the mean person, and Donald Trump's a big old meanie, and sure, Biden was too old, but I'm here as the common blah, blah, blah. Any more time that she had spent campaigning, she would have done worse and spent more money doing so. And believe me, the biggest favor that her campaign had, the one thing, she should have had less time. If Biden had pulled out 2 weeks beforehand and she never had to show up on television once and they just said, you can vote for Trump or we got this other stand-in option, she would have done better than she actually did. But this is her finally looking back on what went wrong, and she thinks the issue was she didn't have enough time to run a successful campaign. And let me tell you, that was the one thing that actually gave her a bit of a chance, was that it took a little while for people to realize, oh, I really don't like this lady. And the more time she spent on television, the more people would have realized, I really cannot vote for this. Let's continue.
Yeah. Well, you didn't.
And, one of the reasons I wrote the book is this is unprecedented. Think about that.
God bless. I hope she runs again. I hope she can convince the donors who are upset with her because they kept saying to the donors, we're winning, we're winning, we're winning, is I can win this thing. I just need more time to campaign. Well, let's see how much money the Democrats can spend in the next election for her to lose. I'll put up a stick. All right, this is some good buffoonery. Someone took the time to put up a statue of Donald Trump holding hands with Epstein outside of the White House. Best friends forever. I think the plaque said something like that. It's good buffoonery, except the drawing just looks like Bush. So I don't know that it actually hit home. And of course, it was removed essentially immediately. And then last topic for today is Donald Trump, who's now testing the waters. He's upset that Jimmy Kimmel's going to be back on air. Let's just read it. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in his bad ratings. And similar to what I was saying with the Comey thing, if you can actually prove that there's an illegal relationship between either the deep state, the Democrats, and this network where they're uninterested in profits and they're somehow making money in a different way, that they're putting something on that loses money so that they could try and propagandize people. If there's some sort of a criminal element there and you want to expose that story, go for it. That to me is not free speech censorship. But if they just start stripping licenses over, hey, he's not, you guys can go check out my last episode because I did a long piece on this, but just not getting good coverage from people that don't like you, I don't think, I think that's an element of free speech. I think entire networks or entire shows, if they don't like you, should be allowed to talk about how they don't like you. If you want to prove that there's some sort of a criminal element to it or some sort of a funding that should not exist for it or some sort of profit incentive that is not market related, and maybe you just want to educate the public for that, I'm all for that. That to me is not a violation of free speech. But if you're just trying to go after anyone who gives you bad coverage, and it's just because they give you bad coverage, and the bad coverage, circular reasoning, is proof of the fact that they're engaging in fake news, that's just dangerous censorship. All right, that is our episode, everybody. Thank you for hanging out. Come porch. And if you got a porch in one of the locations I mentioned at the top of the show, please come hit me up. Also, if you live in Anderson, South Carolina, I should have done this in the other plugs. our host out there has got a jiu-jitsu gym, and at some point in my life, I'd like to take a vacation, maybe go out there and learn some skills, pick up some skills. All right, Uncircumcised Circus. Kamala didn't even read the book. She didn't write. That is a definite possibility. G Nice, she lost because she didn't go on Rogan. LOL. She should have gone on Rogan, and then she would have lost by more because she's so incoherent, incomprehensible, dumb, and laughy and unlikable. She could not have survived a Rogan appearance, and she was smart enough to gamble on, I think I'm better off just not doing that. Matzo balls, don't you think a Rogan or even Theo appearance would have hurt her even more? Yes. And G Nice agreeing, yes, that is the point. All right, I agree with all of you guys. That is the episode. Back probably next week, Wednesday, with another one. Put out a lot of content. There was a live one. Everybody, you got to come over to the Robbie the Fire channel. The Run Your Mouth channel is coming down in the near future. Check out the Smoke Out Bug Out. That was a blast. A little bit of a slow start. Like, you skip forward, get to the questions. There's a lot of really funny shit in there. And then there was also the live podcast that I did. I have no memory of where I was last week. I don't remember where I did a live podcast. Oh, yeah. I was in Arizona. I did a live podcast in Arizona. Check it out.